So much for joining us here on Morning Live.
A very good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Commissioner, we talk about the suicide rate amongst police officers being very high. What are we looking at if we have to talk statistics?
If we have to talk statistics over the past 3 years or even 4 years, you are talking about anything between 70 and slightly above 100 police who, commit suicide each year.
Each year, 70 to 100 police officers. And if we have to draw comparisons with the rest of the world or with other countries in Africa, is this a very high rate of police suicides?
Globally, it is a common phenomenon. And we compare fairly well with a number of developing countries. But I think in the continent, we are one of the countries that have more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know that, if crimes committed, anything to go by, South Africa is one of the most violent countries. And I can only imagine that what some of the police officers see is very, very disturbing. How equipped are the police in dealing with some of the incidences that they have to investigate or arrive at scenes and have to deal with on a daily basis?
I think what is important is to live with the fact that the job that is done by the police in itself is very demanding. They are exposed to very traumatic circumstances in their day-to-day work. It could be areas where a very horrible accident has happened. They have to come in there and deal with the scene clearance. It could be a case where there is a very horrific, challenge or shooting or heist. They have to be there to come and manage the scene.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they are only human. And it is important for them to be able to build that capacity, that muscle, that skill to be able to cope. So this is why we have a very profound and significant employee health and well-being division, because we realize that as an employer, we have to strategically and deliberately intervene in ensuring that members that are out there to go and do the job and are exposed to trauma, there is a structured process of actually giving them help.
Talk us through the process. What actually happens? I mean, you come from a crime scene, and I can't even imagine some of the scenes that these police officers witness. I mean, the rape of little children being killed, and I'm just talking about news events, things that have happened this past week, and they have to go to the scene. What happens when they come after the scene? What mechanisms are in place to help them?
The mechanisms that are there is that when you're exposed to such a scene, there is mandatory debriefing and counseling and intervention that has to take place. But we also are now saying it should not just be for those traumatized police. We must make sure that we build a solid program that even those that are not exposed to trauma have an opportunity of being strengthened through these employee health and well-being programs to be guided in dealing with the challenges that they have.
Yeah.
But also what we have done is that we just don't have an in-house program. We have also some level of a mixed model where we are having some of the services offered by our medical aid, Paul Med. We also have what we called a health risk advisor. We've engaged Alexander Forbes in that regard. They not only intervene, they also help us to analyze, to give us trend lines, to tell us what is happening so that we can assist our employees based on, the information and feedback that we are receiving.
Yeah.
We have a very strong
to
spiritual services that is also, there to be available to members, to outreach, to follow up.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of offerings that we give to our employees.
Yeah. Police Commissioner, just finally, is it really, I know you say it's mandatory that after they come from a scene that they have to go for this counselling. Follow up, however, I imagine that, because that's what's so important as well, is the follow-up compulsory, or is that left to the individual to decide whether or not he needs more counselling and more help? And does anybody monitor them? Because I imagine that's when things start going wrong.
Part of what came out of this dialogue and conference are issues, that the sentiments that you are expressing, to say, don't just say it's mandatory. We must build in other processes that make sure that, you know, even these tigers that think they shouldn't cry, we should say to them, tigers do cry.
Yeah.
Come and get counseling. So monitoring and evaluation of this is one of the areas where we think we will start putting more effort.
Yeah. Oh, Police Commissioner, thank you very much for talking to us about a very sensitive subject at this point. Police Commissioner Ria Pierre talking to us about police suicide. She's in our Pretoria studios. As we sit here in June this year, we're already sitting on 34 suicides in our police force, and this number it's far too high. It's far too high. When you look at the work that the police are doing. So if you want to comment on the story, we'd love to hear from you. Please do tweet us. Let us know right on our SMS line. You can get hold of us in any way. Just talk to us in terms of perhaps you've experienced it. Perhaps maybe you lost your loved one to an incident of suicide and they were in the police force. Or perhaps you are in the police force and you are going through something, and you can shed some light on it for us. We'd love to hear from you. All right, let's take a